Differences between ANOVA and regression. ANOVA versus regression. ANOVA is a statistical technique to analyze the differences between group means in a sample, whereas regression is a statistical technique to determine the relationship between a dependent variable and one or more independent variables. The purpose of an ANOVA test is to determine if there is a significant difference between the groups being studied by using variance, whereas the purpose of regression is to estimate or predict the dependent variable based on the independent variables and to understand the nature of the link between variables. ANOVA focuses on identifying differences between groups but does not establish causality, whereas regression focuses on helping by quantify the associations but does not prove causation. ANOVA is primarily involved in using by comparing means between two or more groups, whereas regression involves in by fitting a line or curve to a set of data points to establish a predictive relationship. It is like drawing a line through a scatter plot to identify trends and forecast future outcomes. The types of ANOVA such as fixed effects ANOVA in which all groups are of interest, random effects ANOVA in which all groups represent a random sample from a larger population, and mixed effects ANOVA in which combination of fixed and random effects. Whereas, the types of regression such as in linear regression in which one independent variable and multiple regression in which multiple independent variables are used for model testing. Type of question in ANOVA is that, is there a statistically significant difference between drugs A, B, and placebo? Whereas, type of question in regression is that, how much of house prices increase as the number of bedrooms increase? In ANOVA, F-test statistics is used to determine if the variables are significant. F-statistic is a tests the overall null hypothesis of no difference between group means. Post hoc tests identify specific groups that differ from each other, if necessary. Whereas regression equation shows the relationship between independent and dependent variables. Statistical significance indicates if the relationship is statistically noteworthy. Compares means across multiple groups is one of the strengths of ANOVA. Whereas, estimates and predicts the dependent variable. Understands the nature of the relationship between variables are the strengths of regression. Limited to comparing means and not individual data points is the weakness of ANOVA. Whereas, assumes linear relationship and sensitive to outliers are the weaknesses of regression. ANOVA used with group, explanatory, variables that have a random component. Whereas, regression used with fixed, independent, variables. The assumptions of ANOVA are the normality of errors and homoscedasticity, constant variance of errors. Whereas, the assumptions of regression are four such as linear relationship between independent and dependent variables, independence of errors, normality of errors and homoscedasticity, constant variance of errors, which is also called as line. X is categorical and Y is numerical are the types of variables used in ANOVA. Whereas, X and Y are both numerical are the type of variables used in regression. Groups beings compared are individual populations or samples of each in ANOVA. Whereas, data value for the Y variable versus Y value on the regression line are being compared. ANOVA focus on variation which is based on the means of different populations. Whereas, regression focus on variation which is based on the variation is between Y and X. ANOVA uses sum squares to partition variation. Whereas, regression uses sum squares to partition variation. In both ANOVA and regression, the analysis include ANOVA table. There is no correlation in ANOVA whereas, there is correlation in regression. Sum of square total of ANOVA and regression are given for comparison. Key sum square ratio of ANOVA and regression are given for comparison. ANOVA are used primarily in designed experiments. Whereas, regression are used in inferential statistics but validated via designed experiments. The graphical representation of ANOVA and regression are given for comparison. Thus, ANOVA focuses on continuous response, nominal factor and whisker box plot, whereas regression focuses on continuous response, continuous predictor and line graph between X and Y. Kindly subscribe my YouTube channel Thesis Helper. Thanks for watching.